Welcome to Tactical Tuesday, where we discuss tactical events, how to get your troops to fight, how to get them to win, how to get them to succeed. So, in this situation, I was involved in a learning scenario with Craig and Keith, and we were discussing different ways to get certain things done. If we need to get units broken, how do we get those units broken and destroyed? By using all of our troops in a combined effort to get those units eliminated. That was successful to the unit on the bottom that you see the CX-467 and LMG on the bottom of the map. He eliminated 2 units and broke or got rid of, essentially neutralized an 8-0. So 2 squads were gone by that simple move, but it took 4 units to get there. Our next move is to soften up that building to possibly get that flamethrower and other units on the right-hand side penetrating the defenses of the Russian, as well as bringing that 9-2 down, or at least supporting the attack and getting the job done and securing that last building. Do you use the flamethrower, risk losing it and not having it later, or do you save it, possibly taking some casualties, getting into that building? That's what we cover in this week's Tactical Tuesday. Thanks for joining.
I was thinking about that piece, and I know at the time we discussed, the possibilities of what that flamethrower could do. And really, me seeing where I left it after you had to leave, that flamethrower really would have come down to helping the Germans win that scenario, I think, in the last 2 rounds, turns. Hindsight being 2020, I don't think I would have fired that, would have kept it, because I was just playing it out myself, and that flamethrower would have been a real game changer at the right time.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably fired that too early. But if it would have worked, it would have made taking that building much easier too. So, hindsight's 2020, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's another thing that you could use is, let's say you're only going to use the flamethrower for the last part of the game. So think of what you might do in that sort of situation. So if I'm the Russians, and I know the Germans are not going to use that flamethrower until he sees some giant kill stack. Like that's why I was making the comparison with the 9-2. He's just going to save it for that one attack that he needs to do to win the game. Well, and you're absolutely right. Hindsight's 2020, but let's take it into a psychological perspective. Let's say I know the German's passive. Let's say you've got a German player that will not use the flamethrower under any circumstances where you don't have less than 2 squads stacked in a hex, under any circumstances, right? So he's very cautious. He needs to use it for that one shot, that one game-winning shot, right? Well, knowing that, and see, the reason why I typically use my flamethrowers is you're going to get a result 87% of the time, or 83% of the time. Positive result 83% of the time, because you can't, if you roll a 9, because if you a 10's a breakdown, right? So if you don't break it down, you're always getting a morale check on somebody. That's just a 9 on the 12. Well, even on 24, even if you get a roll, if you roll a 12 on the 24, you're still getting a morale check. So if you're 1 hex away, if you're adjacent, everything you roll is going to result. If you are 2 hexes away, everything that keeps the flamethrower functional will give you a morale check. So, and again, it's like repairing a weapon. It's like, well, do I repair the weapon because I may need it later or whatever like that? I think the threat, and this is where we go into perception. If I know you are going to save that flamethrower for stacks of 2 squads, do I ever stack 2 squads?
Nope.
Right. So I know you will never use that because you're waiting for that one chance to come. So what do I do then? What do I do to take advantage of that? If I know you're not going to use that flamethrower, that weapon that's giving me essentially a -1 leader to fire on you, which is another thing we'll go over. If I know that you will never use it, yet any single terrain that you're in, that squad that's holding the flamethrower is going to be vulnerable to my attacks.
Right.
So if you have them in the front, sort of making people scared or whatever you think you're doing, but I know you're not going to use it. is it actually a threat? That's the key. Yes, it is a threat, obviously, but like I say, if I know you're not going to use it unless there's two guys stacked, you know, and that's again knowing your opponent. What, you know, if he's had it in a situation, and this is even if you don't know your opponent. Let's say you've had that whole side on that side of that building, the central building. If they, let's go here. Mm-hmm. Let's just pop this bad boy out. There's no reason why I can't. So let's go.
I sync to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's say he won't use it unless the MMG's around too, right?
Right.
Let's say we got that scenario going on, and we just got our squad over here. Give them a flamethrower. We have other units on, of course, and I'm gonna get rid of these stupid labels. Again, we lost the use of the flamethrower. Obviously, a casualty of war, but that's kind of where the ball bounces. But so let's say we have our situation here, and flamethrower, you know, because it's like turn 4 or 5. He's been there for literally 3 turns and hasn't used the flamethrower on any one of our units, and he's taken. Let's say one of these guys will fire somewhere else. He's taken at least 8 to 12 firepower shots practically every turn, right? Well, that's not really good for the Germans, because you haven't done anything to the Russians. There's no threat to the Russians because your 5 firepower going across the street. You know, we had like a 4.67 and an LMG over there as well. Let me just throw over there. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure why I didn't expand it. There we go. We kind of had something like this, right? He's either here or down here or behind here. Let's just say he's right there. So you got 12 firepower across the way. You're looking at a 12 plus 3. And them attacking you on the flamethrower guy is looking at a 12 plus 2. And they're not including the 4.47 up here. Again, let's assume that he's like choosing other targets for whatever reason. But he's still there. So you're losing out on the 12 firepower, you know, exchange, right? Because he's going to fire the 12, you're going to fire the 12, he's going to fire 12, but if he's only firing at plus 2 and you're firing at plus 3, I mean, eventually he has a percentile advantage ahead of you. That's just a simple fact. It's like he has a -1 leader and you don't. And -1 leaders can add some or add a lot. You know, that's what we could be looking at there. Let me send messages, you guys. I think Rob knows too. All right, so we've got. So if we know he's not going to do that, we can essentially, it will essentially come to a point where he's looking to kill this MMG in the back, right? The 8-1 MMG 2 squads. That's right. What he's saving it for the whole game, right? If he never exposes himself, because you got Germans on the left-hand side anyway, this guy could just stay on this side, and essentially the use of your flamethrower will become null and void. Now there will become to a point where let's say the Russians, let's say a guy baits out here, the Russians, like, his reinforcements come on, and he's starting to get into this sort of position here. Well, now the German has to make a decision. Okay, flamethrower bait's not showing his face, right? But I'm gonna quadri. If this guy jumps me in close combat, and we get tied up in close combat, which is very highly likely because you got to roll less than a 5 to completely eliminate this unit, your flamethrowers is, for all intents and purposes, out of the game.
Right.
Because, I mean, you've been in close combat before, and sometimes those things just never resolve themselves, especially, let's say this is turn 4, where he gets in a position like this, or even turn 5, even turn 5. If he's here at the end of turn 5, which will be, because the Russians, I believe, move second, you literally have to kill him in this close combat phase to use your flamethrower in your turn 6.
Right.
If you're stuck in melee, it's like you never had a flamethrower the entire game, because he knows you are not willing to use it unless you see a fat stat, right? So what that does is that gives the Russian, if he recognizes that, an advantage that he can actually force the use of the flamethrower out. Now, a lot of players will sometimes take that 24 shot here. You know, they'll take that 24.
That would be a sorry for the interruption, but I'd look at that as a wasted shot.
The 24?
Yeah, on that unit.
Why would it be a wasted shot? If this is late in the game.
If it's late in the game, you need to prevent him from getting you into close combat. I completely understand that. But eliminating that squad is only going to preserve that squad, right? I don't know. I just look at that as not an efficient use of the flamethrower.
Okay.
I look at the flamethrower, and I could be completely wrong. Right? I've only played a handful of games on this, but to me, the flamethrower is the massive exploitable weapon that if you get it in the right position, could complete assault. And so what I was thinking, Stu, on this is and our board isn't set up this way, but you know, one thing I learned from this weekend is that a single man counter can almost be as effective as a full squad when it comes to interrupting route patterns.
Oh yes,
and
that's actually better.
It got me thinking about the maneuver of this. Craig said it, you know, if you're not moving, you're losing. And, you know, one of the things I learned from what we were playing this weekend on was the fact that you can use a variety of different troops to achieve whatever goal you're looking to make at that moment, right?
Right.
One of the things that I was thinking is that you look at that situation of the scenario where Craig and I were at, not having that flamethrower increases, I think, the likelihood of a German victory, or decreases the likelihood of a German victory significantly.
Okay.
Because I didn't have anything left completely dominate a situation. I had a couple engineer units. I had an LMG on the right side. I had the kill stack that was moved into J5, but I was missing that one piece that would allow me to exploit an opening and bring the game to a successful conclusion for the German.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at the situation here, well, certainly using the flamethrower against that 447 squad would be highly effective, and it would keep that squad out of close combat, right?
Right.
Which is really important at this point, because those two hexes the Germans are in is a victory objective, I think. And so, you know, my thought is that if I had a flamethrower available to me, I could move my troops around in such a way that I could deliver a kill shot with that flamethrower as my last move after everyone else has first fired, subsequent first fired. I've moved. I'm getting rambling here.
No, not at all.
But
not at all. That's exactly what you do. But yeah, absolutely. You definitely don't move the flamethrower first, right?
Right. No, but it would be that big kill shot that you were speaking of, which I didn't have. So, you know, that was kind of long, but
no, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is because he had something like this, right? And he had the machine gun over there, and I think he had two guys. He had this and this.
That guy there, yep.
And he has something like this, right?
I think the 447 was an M6.
Yeah. So
K5 to M6.
K5. Yeah. Okay. So and there was I thought there was a unit here that fired down here as well.
The LMG was an M7 with a squad, and then there was just
no LMG. That's the guy was out. I thought he was an M7 for some reason, because he could cover P9. I think it was that. Anyway, that's just. I think it was this, but it doesn't matter. So, let me finish the kind of point I'm making. So, if you're passive with your flamethrower, now there was another 548 here, and let's say that was pretty much it. And a 467, he was down. Well, I don't know if you rallied him or not. Let's just clone him. Let's just say, so you've got the situation here, and you've got your leader behind. Okay, so and you're exactly right. You want to kind of do that coup de grace on the enemy, right? You want to get this 548 into a position where you can nab those units. We've got the 9-2 and his entourage, his kill stack, and again a kill stack which doesn't move or take ground isn't really a kill stack. It's just pretty much an eyesore. You know, if this guy's up here doing his thing, I'm sorry, I gotta take those labels off. So if he's up here doing his thing, which if it's late in the game, he needs to be. He could only fire at these 2 units here, which really doesn't give him an advantage. Really doesn't give him an advantage. I mean, it might break the units, but which obviously is what we want to do. But if he breaks, he's only going to be able to break 1 of them, right? Okay. Does that really give us an advantage? Let's assume this guy. Well, obviously the routing for this guy, we covered that last time. But does that really give us anything?
I don't think it does.
So he breaks. Let's say let's break the better unit. Let's say he breaks this unit here. So he uses his kill stack potential to weaken the Russians. I mean, that's what they're for. They're there to pick off people. This entire side over here was completely gone. You know, absolutely completely gone. And so that side of the game, that side of the map was total German control at that point. And pretty much this is the whole game from the point after.
Okay.
So what I see here is a kill stack that could damage a unit, which can't follow up on that unit. Because this stack here, essentially when he routes back, is just going to rally in a turn or so. Sure, the Germans will be able to move over here and take a +4 shot on him, but I mean, again, you got time. You have to move. So he'll have a couple rallies. He might get lucky rally. If not, then he could just, you know, at that point. Oh my God, expand the stack. At that point, if he has no chance of rally, then he just leaves him there, and so therefore becomes a movement block. So your 4, 9, or heck, you could just leave him there. So you just can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. You just have to stop out in the open or come over here, and you're still not in the building. And that's what you could do in SK much more effectively than you can in an ASL match. So yes, he could break units, but do you actually gain anything? Because your other units are pretty much over here. So he could technically move this way, but this guy's still covering that. These guys and the 4, 5, 4, 8. This guy could only go 2, 3. He covers that and that. So if he goes here, he could also subsequent first fire on, well, even if let's say you're setting up your 9-2, he's definitely got a subsequent first fire over there, and that's gonna be like at least a -2, assuming you assault move. And but then you essentially have to get him into the building quickly. And then these guys, let's see, guys, if he goes here, this guy's in a world of hurt. From here, he's gonna be taking at least a 16 up 2 shot, pretty bad shot. So he is, for all intents and purposes, kind of like set out to dry. You know, he might just be keeping this guy busy while this guy gets in the situation. So your 5-4-8s, let's say your 5-4-8s, move over there and advance here. This guy obviously has to route. Now you're in another position here. This guy's going to break next turn, most likely. So he won't be an issue. This might be an 8+2. I'm taking that all day, right? Let's say nothing happens there. And you're firing back at him 8+3. You know, you need to roll a 5 for a morale check. Most likely nothing's going to happen there. And then essentially what I'm saying is if you've got a small spattering of units, let's say this guy comes up here, and then essentially this guy, you obviously don't want to run out in the open because he's just going to break him. Because that's the Germans' weakness is number of units at this point in the game. Number of units. And now we're not even taking into consideration the Russians that are coming on, which the Germans have to prep for, right? Because if the Germans come on, or the Russians come on, which they did down here, and you still have a number of units over here, it will take these guys, you know, a turn to get into position over here. And do they really want to take an 8 down 1 shot over here? You might have to be honest with you. So, but anyway, those guys are going to move into that position. Now, again, knowing that what you're saying is accurate, is correct, and is one way to use the flamethrower to nail him. But in a situation where you really don't have an assaulting force per se, you know, that's going to give you a dominant hold that you are guaranteed this guy that he's going to blast him. Because this guy's really not going to move up, right? Because his whole purpose is to stop the oncoming force. If this unit moves up here, then he just dies. If he moves up to the turn before, he just dies. So his purpose was to, you know, to stop this unit off. So essentially what I'm saying is, unless you have this unit down here to throw smoke to then make that move across, you know, you're still in this situation here. That's the exact same situation. You're just in another victory point building, right? It's the exact same situation. You're just in a different building than what you have to do over here. You've just swapped position. That's it. But because the breakdown or the destruction is 10 on this thing, using it for that one. Let's say you set it up perfectly, and you're counting on that one shot. Let's say he's got his entourage of troops here. Let's say you got 2 guys in there. You've gotten into this position. And you make that shot, and you roll a 10. You get a normal morale check. Let's say, you know, the leader pins and the squad's okay, or for whatever reason. It's kind of a null effect, right? Let's say you roll 10, 11, or 12. Still, you know, 10, 11, 12, 24 charts. Really, I mean, it's still 24 chart. I mean, you can't spit it. 10, 11, 12 is actually a 1 morale check. One morale check or no morale check. But then it's gone. And now you're in this position. And and essentially, whether you gained nothing from that usage over here or gained nothing here, you still have gained nothing. But the Russians have gained the information that you are unwilling to use your equipment at a time. Is it a risk to use it? Absolutely, absolutely. But you said hindsight. Let's say that unit broke. Let's say that unit. Actually, it's actually a good example. Let's say that unit broke, right? Let's say our massive stack over here does what he needs to do, and he breaks that guy, right? Because that's what he does. That's a 16 down 1. Essentially the same thing as this guy. That stack and that stack are pretty much equivalent. You know, actually, it's 16. This guy's gonna only be firing point blank. So they're the same stack. Especially against the flamethrower guy, it's the same stack. That's a 16 down 1. It's the same shot. So he pops him, and let's say you pop this guy with your flamethrower. You take that 87%, 83% chance of actually getting a morale check on him, and the 1 in 6 chance of losing the flamethrower. So how does this change? Because they're going to be the same shot. How does this change the complexion of the game?
Oh, it changes it significantly.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the risk versus reward thing there. At that point, you know, this unit can go 2 out of LOS 3, 4, 5. Screw this guy over. He actually just dies. At that point, he just dies because you have German units on the bottom side. I think I know you've got like a squad right here, right? Because we moved him there, or at least the leader, right? Yep. So we can't move there, or there. He simply dies by just being broken, and he gets across. Same thing. This guy, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then what we could do next round? He's got a route. He could route here. This guy's gone, and then we do our, you know, boom, boom. And at that point, this guy could actually come back to even actually be a blocking force. So if this guy happens to get lucky here, or if he comes over here, then he can't go there. And at that point, you just drop back. I don't know how far he got, but let's just say that's not even null force. But you know, this guy's going to overwhelm that guy pretty quickly. He's just a delaying force. And then we move our flamethrower into the building. Do you see how that changes the complexion? This guy's not going to rally very easily. And this guy's got either a 16 or an 8. And again, now look at from the Russian perspective. Look at from the, again, aggression can sometimes pay off. Look at from the Russian perspective if that were the case. This guy, let's say this doesn't rally, so he's got a route. Let's just say he routes down here. Let's say he can route down there. He's out of it. What are we going to do as the Germans here? Either that or move the 467 in. You could argue one or the other. The 548 will give you a 1-to-1, but do you really care? Do you really care to throw the 548? At this point, you're getting your flamethrower into position. That's the whole point of this, is to get to flamethrower position so you can just torch that whole damn hex. So you you probably want the 467 in there, even though you're going to be at 1 to 2 odds. You're not there to kill anybody. You're there to put him.
Attacking for the flamethrower to move in.
You're there to do that. You're there to stay alive because he's 1 to 1, -1. He needs a 6 for a casualty reduction. So if he rolls a 6, you're still there, right? And then unfortunately, you're let's say you moved over there and then you advanced here. So this is at the end of the advance phase. And so at that point, what's going to happen in the defensive fire phase next turn, in the Russian player turn? Can this guy do anything? Can the 447 and K5 do anything?
Oh.
He's going to go on the wayside like L5, because he's just going to get vaporized. And then 9-2, let's say the 9-2 comes on here. Let's say he makes it over here. Hell, let's say he's here full bore at the end of that turn, and your German's still alive. Or let's say he's still here actually, he's not even going to move. There's no way in hell he's going to move there. He's either going to move here or here. Yeah, I'd move here. That might be an LOS, or it might not be an LOS. The 9-2 just needs to be in the building. He doesn't need to kill Germans. He just needs to be in the building. These guys just need to be bodies in the building so they don't lose control. So, but this is the situation where you just torch everything in there. You just 24 straight up and burn them. But how was that situation created? Was it created because we're waiting for that chance to pop out in the open? We took that one shot. We took, everything's a risk. You could always break or whatever, do whatever. We took the one shot that once this unit broke, and this unit's probably going to break, that we determined over here, because that's what the kill stack's for. That's his job. If he doesn't break this, then he's worthless. At that point, you might as well just, smoke and assault move and smoke and assault move, or, move this, smoke and then move over here, like we were kind of covered before. Leave one guy there, and, you could drop double smoke on him for that matter, and then just and then get on top of him, and then threaten the close combat, because you got a 9-2 later. But breaking this single, even just breaking this one unit, kind of opens that side up for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of open, and that's what we're looking at there. Again, if you don't want to use it, that's absolutely fine, but you have to weigh the risk versus reward. Again, 2 turns left. I think there were 2 turns left in this one. That if you don't use the flamethrower, none of these units by themselves or collectively, even at 12, let's say all of them were together like this and they could form a good fire group, even at 12+3 is pretty iffy about this guy. I mean, you have to roll a 6 for a normal morale check, and that's burning all 3 of your units. And if he just skulks back, if it's his turn, he just skulks back, you don't get any defense fire, and he moves forward. Now where are you? Are you going to prep on him, or are you just going to do your movement? You do have assault engineers with good smoke making capabilities. Obviously, movement is what I would do, because you just drop smoke and you make your way over to M6, right? And they do the same sort of thing. But let's say these guys get over here, and for whatever reason, this guy he doesn't want to end up here. He kind of wants to be up here. Let's say that's the situation at the end of the turn. Let's say this guy, they say the LMG broke and he's gone anyway. So now you're still in that position where you've got 2 units in the game, and you've got like 1 or 2 turns. There's turn 1, and then you got to use a maybe flamethrower if you don't break, because that's going to be a 16 up 1 on the 548 with the flamethrower. Right? You're obviously going to throw the assault engineer in there first and smoke him. And if that happens, most likely when you move your flamethrower adjacent to him, he's not going to fire. He's going to wait and defensive fire on you and do a 16 against everything. So, yes, you can. But yes, you can do both. You can be patient, or you can be aggressive with it. That's essentially the short of it. But then you have to determine, obviously based on time, would you want to do it turn 1? Nah, not at all. Not at all. Fire 12+3 for 2 or 3 turns. You got 2 spaces to go. This is assault move, advance phase, and you're where you need to be. So you're not really moving any far. So you have the time for that. But if you're late in the game, at that point, 5 and 6, I'll take that all the time. And that's one hell of a good shot, good chance. It's like rolling a morale check and you have 9 morale. It's like you're constantly. It's like if every single shot, if I had a 9 morale unit, and no matter where I moved, no matter what shot you had on me, I would only be subject to a normal morale check. I would run that son of a bitch all over the place, because there's going to be a 83% chance that he'll be pinned. Well, a small percent chance that he'll be pinned when he rolls a 9, and there'll be a 72% chance that he'll be unaffected. 3 out of 4 times that you're not even going to scratch me, and then part of that time I'm just going to be pinned. That's pretty good. You're in ASL. You're really not going to have any better odds than that. You pretty much just aren't. And that's what we're looking at with the 12 firepower across the thing. So again, but again, know your opponent. Like if you're aggressive, let's say you fired that like on turn 2 or 3, right? And you torched some sucker, right? You torched him, and let's say he just kind of like skulks over on this side, and yeah, let's say you move your 9-2 down here, and you're anticipating that skulk there. That's a clear LOS to that spot. Would you agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
He's either going to skulk here or he's going to skulk there, because you've been aggressive with your flamethrower. He doesn't want to take a 12 even. Let's say you broke 2 other units. Let's say you used that flamethrower to get these guys gone, and you came over here early. Actually, I was surprised when I was watching your guys' scenario that the Germans were over here already. You know, at that time period with that force. It's like, wow, you know, because now the Germans can come on 2 sides, and the Russians, they have a choice to make, and plus they didn't have the big boy on. So if you take this shot, same thing. If he breaks, then you're looking at eventually coming in.
Right.
So, but you're essentially going to have to suck this guy up sooner or later. If you can get in there and force him, because he can't move from this building. He has to shoot. So at this point, he's going to shoot, but you need this guy good. You need that space gone, so you have 2 bodies on him. Or this, where at least you've got an 18 chart over here. You don't want to stack anybody with him. You want to stack this. So essentially, you're looking at the same sort of firepower. It's obviously not, because this guy has a +3 versus this guy with a nothing, with a 24 even. Right. So he's going to fire here, and you're guaranteed, unless he gets ready to fire, you're guaranteed to get that 16 +3 shot, which is pretty damn good. You know, it's not guaranteed. I mean, you roll at 7 or 8. I mean, he could easily pass morale checks here. But if he knows you're passive, if he knows you haven't fired that flamethrower, and you've just kept it in the back, it's then you're just one and done. Now, demo charge, on the other hand, a demo charge is a very aggressive thing. It's almost like the flamethrower. You have to be adjacent to somebody, but guess what? Well, you don't have to be adjacent to a flamethrower, but you're going to be a higher chart. But with that demo charge, you're essentially baiting him and forcing him to defensive fire on your guy. I mean, like we covered over there with the 426, you know, final protective fire, the whole 9 yards, because he's going to break anyway. So you might as well try to pin that unit. He's going to suck up a 30 chart, no matter pretty much what. As long as that good order unit that's unpinned gets that demo charge placed in your hex, you're taking a 30 chart no matter what happens. After that movement phase ends for that unit, doesn't matter. 30 chart, boom, you know. And those are the aggressive weapons. The flamethrowers, obviously, you got to pick and choose. 1, you're more vulnerable, and 2, you're going to be taking shots. I'm targeting this guy. This guy's getting pretty much all my shots, all of them, because just like you said, it can literally just clear out this entire building. Just you know, if he rolls badly once, then you just 24 him. You know, he's got to jump him. At that point, that was kind of my point when they were over here, and we weren't being as well. I'm not saying we weren't aggressive, but I'm just saying that, you know, if I know you're not aggressive, and this says you're just gone or whatever, that we can get these guys over here, like an in your face situation. Reinforcements come on over here. You know, this is an in your face situation, and we can engage that flamethrower. Well, guess what? Like I covered before, he's out. The flamethrower's out, and this is what happens here, and then, you know, and then the 9-2 just fires into that melee, just destroys everybody. You know, they all rout, and then he just, And then if this is still going on, he just fires in there, destroys everybody. You know, you're at that point, you're not there to kill him. You're there to stop this thing from being used. And if he doesn't want to use it, and he's not going to use it, then you might as well just put it in the discard pile. Yeah. But yeah, you do have a valid point. Your point is 100% valid. 100% valid. You need to keep that, especially if you're in a tight situation, which it kind of looked like. You need to keep that to crack open the egg. To crack open the egg. But do you need to crack the egg late? If you torch that guy, essentially if this guy's pinned, you could pretty much still make it in a building, you know. And this guy, again, this guy's going to be broken. Most likely going to be broken through our kill stack over here. You can still make it in that building, and then at that point you can just double that guy there, you know, if you want, because this has to be aggressive. And so what's the plan here? Why would I double this guy here, knowing that this guy's point blank? Why would I want to double that tie and be exposed to that fire from there? So at this point, you have to be aggressive. 1-on-1's not going to kill this guy. You need a 2-to-1, so you need to roll that. You need to roll that 6 to kill him on a 2-to-1. I mean, this is very aggressive. This is a very aggressive mood. This is less aggressive because guess what? All he has to do is break one of them, and your shot's going to be pretty weak. But again, this is the right move. Nah. But if you're super aggressive here, and this guy's going there, this guy's routing, right? Well, he can go here, and then he's got to route somewhere else, right? At that point, he can't even route there because he's getting closer to him. This guy's pretty much just stuck. And a turn after that, see that guy gets blasted. What do we do then? You know, you could just bring these units into here, and then smoke. You could smoke J4 or whatever you want to do, or you've got other units over here that could just make a dash for it, because now he's 2 units down, just like you'd be units down over here. Now it's just in a different building. Now you're in that building. You want to be over here versus him being over here. This guy's out of the game. He's going to be moving out of the building, so we don't really actually ever have to shoot at him ever again. He's never going to rally. Right? Because you're always going to have units. This point, this guy comes up here and just DMs, just stays right there. And then he just runs over there. Once he breaks, he's out of the game. And then you've got your reinforcing units over here. Yes, you got this guy coming down here, you know, dealing with this sort of situation here. But once that cracks, then you can split these guys up. You can move the medium 2, 3, 4, or hell, you can just bait that shot out there. Once he first fires, well, because you can't fire mediums after you move, and you need your 9-2 in this building here, you give him the sweet juicy target. He's going to take that. That's 8-2. Guess what? He's first fired. What do you do then?
Move your other troops into K4.
No. He gets subsequent there. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4,
We'll
5.
go around, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's free. Not 9-2. Not 9. Actually, he could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, and then he could either reinforce the melee if it's still going on, and that will end the melee there. If your -2 doesn't end the melee there, then you just got a bad stroke of dice. Bad stroke of dice. Yeah, but the same thing with the flamethrower. You roll 10, you get a bad stroke of dice. You roll 10 here in close combat. You know, actually with 3-to-1, if he kills one of them, that's still be 2-to-1 -2. That's another 10. Again, that's another 10. If we roll a 9, he dies. I think that's the odd. I think it's 9. At least, you know, I think the 10 is the kill on that. The 10 is a reduction on that. The 9 is exactly the same thing as the flamethrower, except for the 9 here kills. Are we going to take that shot? Yeah. But now we have a 9-1, and even if this guy breaks, it doesn't really matter. You know, because he's only got 1 unit here. He has to sustain firepower. We could smoke him. In case we don't think our let's say we prep fire over here and we don't get an effect, then we just smoke him. Actually, the smoke's not gonna do any good because he's still gonna fire anyway. But it's just I think it's just a matter of play style, and there's no real. I mean, everyone has their own play styles, and some play styles favor certain, let's say, setups. I guess, you know, if you have to be aggressive, you have to move fast, go across the board, you have to exit the board. If you're more of a passive play style, that type of scenario would be more difficult because you're not going to be comfortable in exposing your units to fire, or you may not be comfortable or adept at moving unit a 548 up. You know, let's say I want to assault my 9-2 into M7. You may not be comfortable moving a guy here, knowing that a 16 chart might be staring you in the face, and attempting and failing smoke. Maybe that's happened too many times to you. Now you're gun shy. You know, like we were covering in the S19 thing, where I think Craig didn't drop one smoke the whole damn game with his paratroopers. He didn't drop any. We had one smoke out of 5 turns with paratroopers. You know, if you get gun shy on that, then it's really going to affect your play. And but you like we did down here. Remember when we were covering this down here last week?
Yep.
The plan, we had a plan, which involved all 4 of the squads to get this one squad down in that quarter. And did it go awry? Yeah, our first squad broke right here, but we had a backup plan because we had a backup squad, which could execute the plan when he drops. And this guy had to route back to P6. You know, he had to route back to P6, which is fine, because we got our 9-11 leader over there, whether he's broken or not, and we still obtained the same objective. But it took 4 units to do that. And the same thing when you're assaulting, like exactly as you say, when you assault with that flamethrower, you're not walking that flamethrower up and he's not torching somebody by himself, because if he's the only shot, he's going to take everything. You want to put the pressure on. So if your flamethrower guy gets nailed, he's going to get nailed by everyone else that the defender has ignored, that flamethrower bait has ignored. Which in this case, you know, if he nails the flamethrower guy, we got a 9-2 that could make his way over there. Hell, he could CX and go just about anywhere. 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, we obviously don't want to move there. 6. You know, 7, 8. You know, maybe the things haven't come on here, and maybe now it's 9-2 v 9-2, mono y mono. You know, and then we could pound him this way, and guess what? He can't route this way, right? He's not going to be able to route that way. Well, actually, he could route there, but that's okay. If he routes out of the building, we control it. That's fine. So, again, coordination of units. One unit in ASL is unlikely going to do anything by itself offensively. Now, you mentioned the leader earlier, and what we covered also in the 7-0 in that S19 game, and also leaders in this game. I think there's an 8-0. There's an 8-0 that placed that demo charge over here on this left-hand side. You know, his job was done. What that guy could do then is, you know, next turn, don't just sit right here and DM these guys or bullshit like that. CX that guy way the hell over here. Hell, even move him adjacent, for that matter. Even move him adjacent if he can get there. Obviously, these guys aren't here. Let's say they're fighting over here. Get this guy in this building, move him adjacent. That's an easy move. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is he gonna fire at him? He's gonna ignore this guy. There's no way in hell this guy's gonna fire at a leader when he's staring at 548s ready to come across the road, you know, flamethrower or not. He's not gonna fire at this guy. This guy is just to bait a shot out. Well, I don't know if I'd go there, but he'll have plenty of move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then at least he can't route back. All right, and then you move in this position, and guess what? If your 9-1 leader's still over here, you just simply move your 9-1 down here, assuming he rallies. It doesn't really matter what this unit does. At that point, if he doesn't rally, and this is your plan, you abandon this guy because you already have the victory hex because you need to go here, and you move your 9-1 down here so he can't route there or there. Even if he kills this guy and you have to route back, it doesn't give him a routing destination, and he just simply dies. So that's using 2 leaders, even abandoning a squad that we didn't rally. Let's say we're rolling 10 on this sucker, don't rally him. If this situation presents itself, you have to abandon that squad out there to stop him. And if he breaks, you know, you have to anticipate that guy breaking to stop this from happening, because you've got a 9-2 that will rally that guy in a heartbeat. And so he simply just dies. And you get to, and theoretically you get to meet him too, because he just leaves it behind. And these guys, without getting shot at, you know, if he breaks, you know, if you get the 9-2 right here, or if you move him to a better position over here, or these guys get lucky, or your flamethrower pops him or something like that. These guys, even 9-1s, but the 8-0s especially, 8-0s, 7-0s, are the guys that can move extremely fast, even if he's CX, because he can't interdict anyway, right? Whether CX or not, it doesn't really matter. But it stops the enemy from moving in that direction. Whether you're CX, even if he's broken, he still can't go in that direction. Even if he breaks right here, let's say he does take. Let's say 9-2 breaks this guy right here. So what? He's not gonna die. He's gonna break. And guess what? We just stay there. That's your happy home. We stay at our happy home. Stops this guy that's in this building from getting there. Because if we route here, then he just goes, and then next turn, we might have something like that. So just stay there. Like Pete was saying before the last thing, you're gonna use your leaders as blocks. You use broken units as blocks. You know, that's just what you do. That's very effective in SK. Less effective in ASL, but very effective in SK. I would be hesitant to say at least 3 to 5 times stronger in SK than it is in ASL. 3 to 5 times stronger. Simply because you can always route away in SK as long as you get like low crawl and moving away from guys. You know.
Leaders as cause failure, eliminate failure route in SK.
Yeah.
Because the other thing in SK, as opposed to AS, defensive fire just do not have the options on fire to take those shots. So it's a very much a gimme for the German player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you just all you've got is you're basically 2 shots.
Yeah. Because there are fewer defensive options for the SK player. That the same aggressive player in SK is twice as effective. Thanks, Craig. The aggressive player in SK is at least twice as effective in SK that he is in ASL, at least, simply because the essentially the restricted opportunities that defensive units have, specifically machine guns, but we won't bother to go into that.
And particularly given the way that infantry movement works in SK, if you're aggressive in SK, it just causes such force.
Right.
Particularly with 8 morale.
Absolutely. Like
because yeah,
and the reason why we point out that aggression, I'll just give you an example. I won't talk about the rule, but let's say in SK you can go 1 2 3 1 2 3. That is a move that SK players can make all year long. What happens if he breaks? They simply low crawl back. In ASL, if this guy breaks,
he's dead.
They're gone. That in and of itself, among some of the other things that we haven't mentioned, makes it much more difficult in ASL to be that sort of aggression. Whereas in SK, those guys are always coming back. At that point, let's say they break and they just low crawl here, you advance him in here, and at least you have a rally opportunity. Where in ASL, that opportunity is gone. And that's kind of the situation that we want to do in SK. And I've seen it. I really haven't realized it per se, because I'm trying to play SK using some ASL techniques, but those techniques are weaker, like I said before. But because again, if this leader breaks, even if he gets stuck here, and most of the time in ASL, you want leaders dead as fast as possible, and in SK as well. You want them dead as fast as possible. So this might cause him to die, you know, given a certain situation, but with the ability to low crawl, continually low crawl away, means that their lifespan has expanded a huge amount. And so therefore, you can be very aggressive with your single man counters just by positioning them in LOS to a unit that you want to break, but you have to make sure that he's in such a position that you don't give him an out, right? Because like this example we had here, if we had this guy here and then these guys break, the out's M8. Oops. The out is M8. That, we've got these covered, that covered, M8 is not covered. And that's what you're looking at when you're developing a plan. Then you go, okay, now it's covered. Now what he breaks, now he breaks, he dies. Straight up dies. You're not going to get a KA at any chart unless you're using a flamethrower. This straight up kills him.
Failure to route is the best killer of them.
Yeah. Close
Doesn't
cut.
require a dice roll.
Right. All it does is require you to move, and when you're moving, you're aggressing, right?
This is actually a little bit of a teaching, well, because what you're doing with the leaders in SK is effectively what you would be half squads in ASL.
Yes. Leaders are essentially the 6 movement factor or 8 movement factor half squads. Yeah, because the half squad's firepower is pretty much limited anyway. I mean, if those were half squads, if you know, if this big boy moves over here, a half squad's not going to do anything to him. The same thing as the leader's not going to do anything to him. A 2+2 shot,
ASL,
it's just not going to happen.
in ASL and SK, maybe not so much to the point of SK, but if ASL, it's all about maneuver. It's not about firepower, so it's about maneuvering and forcing your units to die for failure to route. It's just so much less risky.
Yeah, I had an interesting scenario in one of my tournament games that I actually had a recording on, and I aggressed. You know, I was extremely aggressive at the beginning of the game. Essentially, kind of a couple 2-3 turns, essentially broke the German units, and then he had to route out of the building, and I didn't give him any route pass to route to. So essentially, he had to low crawl out into an open ground hex. Well, next turn is what I do is I position my units. So he has to route because I'm in normal range and he's in open ground. So therefore you have to route, and he had nowhere to route to. And so that's a automatic elimination failure route. I didn't need to run up to him and block him completely. I just needed to make sure that my guys were positioned at such an angle where he couldn't move anywhere. And therefore I'm closer to my other objectives. I'm essentially a movement phase of closer to my other objectives instead of moving to him and then coming back. I had him. It happened. It doesn't happen often, mind you. It doesn't happen often. Only essentially when he's pinned up against the side does that happen. But you can create your own side. You create your own wall. The 9-1, he's created a wall on this side. 8-0, he's created a wall on that side. And here's your guys forcing him to move. Create your own walls when you don't have any. Build them all. Build the wall.
It's a Mercedes star effect. It's a 3-pointed star.
Yeah.
With the enemy unit at the hub of the star.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you're trying to build.
Now, if he has a front, and that's why stacking in and of itself is kind of detrimental, just by the general terms. I mean, obviously our 9-2 stacks, right? We got our giant kill stack. You know, there's a purpose for that guy. He has a purpose for stacking. But if you stack versus, let's say, you know, if you stack 3 units here, he's in the same predicament. But let's say if you had spread your units out more, you know, something like this, you know, he's going to exert the same amount of firepower, you know, albeit not using the -1. But who cares? With that much firepower, you don't care about a -1. You know, you just care about not rolling 12. And when he breaks, you might lose him, but you still have strength. You didn't lose much strength. You still have good strength in that building. So, but that's just a simple stacking thing. But you'll find out your experience when to stack, when not to stack. I'm sure you guys know the difference anyway, so we're not going to go into that. But that's just a thing that you'll be learning. Everyone stacks when they first start playing, and you know, you only have to pay for it once. You know, if you stack this in my 9-2, and let's say you move him here, and this guy fires on you an 8-1, and he rolls a snake eyes or 3. Either you learn how to play smoke, you learn LOSs down hex lines, or you don't stack, or you know different paths of which to get to your destination. You have to be more apparent of what can fire on you. Thanks for joining us for another Tactical Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the discussion on the difficult situation the Germans had in trying to overcome the Russian defense in this particular episode. So save your Valza log files, join us next week, and bring your ideas, comments, and questions to Tactical Tuesday. Thanks a lot.